This is Histories and Mysteries Uncovered. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Kyle.
And this is take 3. Kyle's going to be talking about Charles Bronson, and I will be talking about David Fuller.
Okay, I am starting off with Michael Gordon Peterson, a.k.a. Charles Bronson.
For the 3rd time.
You going to say that every time?
Yeah.
Okay. He's not the actor from the States, so we won't have to worry about that confusion.
Don't even know who that is.
Yeah, he's a 70s action star.
Yeah, we're all too young for that.
Yes, I technically am actually too young for that too.
You were born in the 70s, so no, you're not.
Late 70s. He was mid, from what I remember, maybe early 80s.
Keep telling yourself that, babe.
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Okay, so Michael Gordon Peterson was born December 6th, 1952.
Old ass, okay.
Well, of course. He was a British criminal with a violent and notorious past, and he was a very, very pain-in-the-ass prisoner.
Okay.
Some of the prisons that have housed him were Rampton, Broadmoor, and Ashworth, a high-security psychiatric hospital. He was one of 3 sons from mother Ira Perry and John Peterson. His father ran the Conservative Club in Aberystwyth, and his uncle and aunt each served as mayor of Luton in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
His aunt Eileen said of him, as a boy, he was a lovely lad. He was bright and good with children. He was gentle and mild-mannered, never a bully. He would defend the weak.
Sounds like a good upbringing.
Yes, and that's where it gets weird.
Okay.
By the age of 13, he was in a gang. They were caught stealing and reprimanded in juvenile court. He was absent from school a lot and developed a liking to fighting.
Uh-oh.
Yes. His first job was at Tesco, very short-lived as he was fired for attacking his manager.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. He worked through a number of jobs as a hod carrier.
The fuck is that?
Oh, I'm going to tell you. This was somebody who carried bricks or mortar and building supplies, and it was on a block or an open block on the end of a stick, essentially. So he did that in many different factories. So he's kind of the gopher, I guess you would call it.
Okay.
His first prison visit was at Risley, a Category C men's prison. Now, prisons in the UK for men are listed in 4 categories. A is high security. B is local or a training person. They take prisoners.
Prison.
Yes.
Training prison, not training person.
And I said prison.
You said person.
Prison. They take prisoners right from court and hold long-term and high security prisoners as well. C prisons are training and resettlement types. They allow prisoners to develop skills so they can work and resettle back into the community when released. D prisons have minimal security. They allow prisoners to spend the day away from prison. They are allowed a license to carry out work or education so they can resettle in the community. These prisoners are risk assessed and are considered suitable for open conditions.
That's really interesting.
It is.
Wow. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, me neither until this one. He was serving time for criminal damage after he smashed parked cars when he got in an argument with his girlfriend's dad. After the trial, he was just fined and given probation. Later on, Peterson worked as a furniture remover and spent nights out fighting. His life was mostly full of petty crimes until he was finally in serious trouble with the police. He was caught after crashing a lorry, which is a taxi, into a car. He was apprehended about 140 kilometers or 90 miles from the scene of the incident. Thankfully for Peterson, the driver of the car survived. He did not face a serious penalty, only fines and probation. After trial, he continued the petty crime and menial behavior.
Labor.
Sorry, my bad. At 19, Peterson was convicted for taking part in a smash and grab raid. Once again, he received a suspended sentence. He met Irene Kelsey in 1971. She would describe him as a different from all the other boys she knew. He would wear tailored suits, perfectly groomed sideburns, and a Cockney accent. 8 months later, in 1972, the couple got married at Chester Register Office. Irene was also 4 months pregnant at the time.
There it is.
They ended up having a son. His name was Michael Jordan Peterson, and 5 years later they got divorced, and Irene later remarried. Peterson was convicted of armed robbery in 1974 at the tender age of 22.
Whoa, that's an escalation.
Oh, yes. He was sentenced to 7 years at Walton Gaol Prison.
Jail. That's how they spelled jail back in the day, Gaol.
Why would you have jail prison?
I don't know.
Walton Jail Prison?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
That's how they used to spell jail back in the day. Maybe it's just supposed to be Walton Jail.
Maybe. It's a Category B prison. It wasn't long until he decided to attack 2 prisoners without being provoked. For this, he was transferred to the punishment block. I think this is a solitary confinement. I couldn't really find out specifically.
Or they just spanked his booty.
Oh, he might have liked that. At one point, they did try and inject him with a sedative, chloropromazine. However, this made him violently ill. And then they added 6 months to his sentence.
Because he became violently ill?
Nah, it was because he was just being a problem. And that's why they injected him.
What a dummy.
Oh, he's more fun than that.
Gets worse?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
When he was healthy again, he continued to be difficult. This led to him being placed in isolation for several months. He attacked fellow inmate John Gallagher with a glass jug. Although initially charged with grievous bodily harm, the charges were dropped to unlawful wounding.
You know what's always funny to me? Is that you can be charged while you're in prison.
Is it kind of ironic?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Well, yes. But I mean, crime's still a crime, even if you're in prison.
Still, I just think it's bonkers. I feel like it's very contradictory.
Yes.
It's already there. Let the purge run loose.
Yes. So he was now transferred to Armley Jail.
See?
I'm just going to use it because you're going to bug me otherwise. Bronson was gaining a reputation as a violent and dangerous inmate from 1975 to 77.
When you were born.
Not 75, just so you know. He was transferred between Armley, Wakefield, Parkhurst, and Walton prisons. He was taken from Yorkshire to London, chained to the floor of a van. He was kept in solitary confinement, and it was there he began a fitness program. He continued his attacks on inmates and prison officers. While recovering from a beating from some officers, he was served his divorce papers.
Okay, if anybody caught my laugh, I was only laughing at the part where he started a fitness program because I was thinking of Richard Simmons.
Oh, jeez. I do mention it a little at the end as to what he was kind of into in that regard.
Oh my goodness.
It's funny, but not like Richard Simmons funny.
Oh, you guys have to watch Whose Line Is It Anyway with Richard Simmons.
Yes.
That was so funny.
Yes.
But also being served divorce papers while you're in prison is just kind of a double beat down.
Yeah, really kick me when you're down sort of thing.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah. So in Wandsworth, he tried to poison a prisoner in the cell next to him.
How?
It never actually told me how.
Okay.
So I don't want to know, maybe.
Okay.
He was then moved to Parkhurst in 76. He befriended the Cray twins. Now, they were the best 2 guys he's ever met. After threatening to kill a prison officer, he was sent to Wandsworth again. After being caught trying to dig out of his cell, he spent 4 months in solitary. He returned to the general population. He found the prisoner that told the officers about his escape plan, and he attacked and scarred the prisoner for life.
How?
Didn't say.
Okay. It sucks.
But I imagine a lot of beatings.
A lot of
that's what he loved to do. Well, he liked to beat people.
Oh.
He wasn't like a stabby guy. He was like a beat the heck out of you.
Oh, that's rude.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
What a rude man.
The governor at Wandsworth wanted to transfer Bronson out. Only the psychiatric wing at Parkhurst would take him, though. Bronson was transferred to the Isle of Wight. He attacked a prisoner with a jam jar.
Oh my God.
And charged with grievous bodily harm. He then attempted suicide and attacked another prison officer. He was transferred again, but this time it was a direction order under the Mental Health Act, which means someone had to take him. In 1978, Bronson arrived at Broadmoor, but didn't last long. He was then transferred to Rampton Secure Hospital. He was placed with highly disturbed and dangerous patients. He could not adapt to the forced medication. He then went on to attempt to strangle a child rapist and murderer named John White.
Good for him.
The officers were able to get to Bronson just as White was giving out his death rattle, though. So I think this is the closest he got to killing anybody.
But like, if he's giving out his death rattle, wouldn't he be dead?
I would think so, but I would have thought it would have said he strangled him to death, not to the death rattle. So Bronson was then returned back to Broadmoor and reunited with Ronnie Cray.
One of the twins.
Yes.
Okay. That's scary.
There's a fun fact at the end about that.
Oh, okay. Were they lovers?
No, that's just weird.
No, that's not weird.
Well, it will be when you get to the rest of the story. While there, Bronson tried to strangle Gordon Robinson, but was prevented due to the silk tie he used tearing apart. This failure at attempted murder caused Bronson to become depressed. His spirit was lifted when his buddy Ronnie Cray arranged a visit from a boxer by the name of Terry Downs. He was apparently a middleweight boxer named the Paddington Express. That's weird considering
Like
Paddington
the
the bear. I don't know. Maybe it's furry. I don't know. Bronson began the first of his rooftop protests. In the first escape to the roof, he was able to tear off some roof tiles. The second time, he was able to cause about 250 pounds worth of damage. His family,
250,000 pounds of damage.
yeah.
Wow.
So that was like 500,000
Like how?
Canadian at the time. Well, I imagine he tore
pounds, like the money.
Oh, sorry, you weren't getting that, huh?
No.
Oh, my bad. Fortunately, his family was able to talk him down from the roof. The third time he made it to the roof, he demanded a transfer, but instead was talked down again from the roof. The failure of these protests influenced his decision to go on a hunger strike. This worked better because after 18 days on the hunger strike, he was transferred to Ashworth Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah. During his time protesting, he also took up some hobbies. He made poems, prose, and cartoons. And he was able to win more prison awards than any other inmate. Yeah.
It's as if there's prison awards.
Oh, there is, and I actually mentioned it a little bit later.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't long that Bronson returned to his more violent ways. He stabbed Mervyn Horley with a sauce bottle. After Mervyn made sexual advances toward him, he returned to general population, but that was short-lived as he punched a fellow inmate. For that, he was placed in isolation again. Bronson pled guilty to grievous bodily harm and received 3 more years.
Oh my goodness. Like, why?
I don't know. I think he enjoyed it too much. Bronson was then transferred to Walton and was able to get on the rooftop for another protest. This one cost about 100,000 pounds in damage and another year to his sentence. He was again moved to Albany and punched another inmate on his first day. This prompted a quick move to Wormwood Scrubs, and 2 weeks later, he was returned to Wormwood Scrubs, and 2 weeks after that, he was placed to Wandsworth. He was transferred 8 times in 1986, and after strangling the governor of Wormwood, he was transferred to Gartree and served the rest of that sentence in isolation.
I'm confused.
By which?
Well, it says he was moved to Wormwood Scrubs, and then he was returned to Wormwood Scrubs 2 weeks after.
I don't know if that had to do with the Albany being in the middle.
Oh.
So that might have just been a typo.
Okay. Sorry.
That's all right.
I just not too sure.
Yeah, well, he was transferred so much. I think I might have gotten loopy on that one.
That's fair. This man is
I think he visited every prison in the UK.
That's fair.
So in 1987, he's finally finished his prison term. Upon release, he stayed with his parents at first, but eventually made his way back to Luton. There, he found work in bare-knuckle boxing.
Oh, my God.
So, on the advice of his buddy, Reggie Cray.
Oh, Reggie.
And this is where his fight promoter recommended a name change, and he adopted the name Charles Bronson. And he did not know about the actor at that time.
Oh.
Yes.
That's weird.
A little bit, but UK versus the States, they probably weren't.
Well, and it's also really weird because it's so close to Charles Manson.
That's true, too.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that just doesn't seem like that would bode well.
Well, I think it'd be worse if he named himself Charles Manson.
But, like, it's so close to Manson.
Yeah, so it is. It is true.
And it was obviously before his time.
Actually, no, at that time, it would have been after Charles Bronson. It was already...
After Charles Manson.
Oh, yes, for sure.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So, like, he would have known about that because that was a very...
He was in prison from, like, 22. I don't think he would have known much. He was also in isolation most of it so far.
I guess.
This guy probably didn't know any actor in UK at all, let alone somebody in the States.
That's true, I guess.
And in that time, international filming wasn't what it is today. It's not global like it is now.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
Okay, then. He later robbed a jewelry store and kept one of the rings for his girlfriend, Allison.
Aww.
After a whole 69 days of freedom, he was arrested on a morning jog. Since Bedford Prison wouldn't take him due to his violent behavior, he was placed in Leicester. Eyewitnesses were too afraid to testify, but his girlfriend, who initially provided his alibi, retracted that testimony. So it wasn't long until after that he was back in prison again.
What a dummy.
Well, she might have been afraid to keep him.
Yeah, that's fair.
So after another failed rooftop protest...
Oh, I meant he's a dummy.
Oh, yeah, well, that's...
Yeah, not the woman. Jeez.
Okay. Well, yeah, fair enough. He was transferred to Brixton and placed in a top secure unit of 16 prisoners. He finally pled guilty for the robbery and was sentenced to 7 years.
Wow.
During this sentence, he punched a prisoner, bonded with a family of rats,
Oh,
ran in the nude in a riot with a spear that he made from a broken broom handle and a glass bottle,
oh my God.
punched 2 officers, took the deputy governor hostage.
Oh my gosh.
However, 2 prisoners actually stabbed him in the back several times, but Bronson refused to say anything to police, and he recovered and was released in November 1992.
Wow. It's
Yes.
really it's really funny just picturing him running nude through the halls of a prison with a spear, all like Bravehearty.
Yeah, that would be something. Not a good something
Oh
necessarily.
my goodness. What a guy.
This freedom lasted only 53 days.
Oh my God.
He was arrested for conspiracy to rob, but eventually had those charges dismissed. 16 days later, he was charged again with the conspiracy to rob and possession of a sawn-off shotgun.
Who's like ratting on him?
Oh, I think he's kind of cocky and kind of just isn't afraid to tell anybody anything
Okay.
because he's, a tough guy. He can beat up everybody according to himself. So in Wood Hill, he took a librarian hostage. His demands at the time were an inflatable doll, a helicopter, and a cup of tea. The hostage happened to fart in front of Bronson. It disgusted him so much that he released the hostage. And this led to another 8-year sentence.
Fart, people, saves lives.
Yeah, if all the hostages farted, it probably would save some lives. So he spent 40 days naked in isolation due to his reputation. He was also transferred to a Hannibal cage.
Ah.
I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's not good.
Yeah.
Which was once occupied by Robert Maudsley.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
I don't know if we've done him or you've done him or...
I don't know.
Guess we could look. While there, he was encouraged to take up art and cartooning again. He was also allowed to spend time with children with Down syndrome, and he got along well with those children. In 1996, he took a doctor hostage at Birmingham. This got him moved to Belmarsh. 5 months later, an Iraqi hijacker bumped into him in the canteen, which I think was their cafeteria, and did not apologize. After steaming about this incident, he took 2 Iraqi hijackers and an inmate, Jason Greasley, hostage. At this point, he admitted to losing it. He sang and laughed and forced the Iraqis to tickle his feet and call him general.
That's weird.
Oh, yes. He was chanting, "I want ice cream," and felt guilty for hitting a hostage with a tray, so he wanted to hit him back 4 times. This was his way of evening it out. Oh, yes. He also slashed himself 4 times with a safety razor.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of damage, thankfully. He finally agreed to free the hostages and walk back to the segregation unit. 7 more years were at it.
Oh, my goodness.
But it was knocked down to 5 after the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. Isn't that great? In 1999, a special prison...
1996, babe.
Am I back up there?
Wait.
No, I was...
Yeah.
Oh, that was the other one?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So in 1996, Bronson took another doctor hostage, but released him after 30 minutes. It get confusing. You take so many people hostage.
Well, and it was the same year.
No, that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Then he took a civilian education worker hostage. So I'm assuming a librarian of sorts. After the worker criticized the drawing he made. That's why. He lost it and threw furniture and refrigerator units around. At one point, while trying to rip a washing machine out of the wall,
Oh my gosh.
he was shocked and knocked out.
What an idiot.
Yeah. After 44 hours, he released the education worker. And this led to a discretionary life sentence with minimum 3 years.
How does that work?
I tried to look it up. The best I can think of is it's considered a life sentence, but your parole is still kind of falls in the same category of like every couple of years.
Oh,
And it'll be up to the discretion of the parole officers and the judicial system if they're going to let him go.
that's weird.
Yes.
Okay.
In 1999, a special prison unit was set up in Wood Hill for Bronson, Robert Maudsley, and a Reginald Wilson to reduce the risk to everyone within the prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we haven't covered Robert Maudsley.
No.
But
okay.
he's pretty
Yeah, he's something else.
something.
Yeah, he might be one of the inspirations for Hannibal Lecter even.
Oh, yeah, because he ate some brains.
Yeah, it wasn't nice at all. In 2001, Bronson married again to a Fatima Sarah Riemann. When she saw a picture of him in the newspaper, she started to write him letters.
And guys and ladies, he's not good looking. And he doesn't even look like the type of person that would be a fighter. So look him up, but make sure that you add prisoner at the end or else you're going to get the actor.
Yeah, and they're totally different.
Yeah.
So Bronson started following the Islamic religion because of her and changed his name to Charles Ali Ahmed, just not legally. This lasted about 4 years before they divorced, and he no longer followed her religion.
Okay.
At this time, he attempted to appeal his life sentence, but was rejected.
Oh, good.
After failing another parole hearing, Bronson had a following. They started a petition that gained 10,000 signatures.
Ew.
Yes, ew. Bronson also appealed to Prime Minister David Cameron. Bronson wanted to live what's left of his life and not be buried in the prison system. He then attacked another prison governor over his belief his mail was being withheld. This added another 2 years to the sentence, but the prison did accept that his mail was unacceptably processed.
Okay, but you don't want to be in the system, but you keep pissing the system off.
Yeah.
Like, dude, they've literally let serial killers go for being on good behavior.
Yes.
You haven't murdered anybody. You're just a petty thief. Like, just stop hurting people.
I think he's got anger issues.
Seriously.
Somebody says no and he punches him in the face.
It's like my toddler.
Oh, yeah, kind of. So in 2014, Bronson changed his name to Charles Salvador in tribute to Salvador Dali. He began creating art again, as described as fantasy reality. The art was auctioned off in October 2014. Bronson stated that Bronson came alive in 87 and died in 2014. So that was his idea for his name change.
Poor Salvador Dali.
Yeah, I know. It sucked knowing that. Now known as Salvador, he proposed to an actress, Paula Williamson, when she visited in February of 2017. She said yes.
Whoa.
They were married in the prison chapel in November on 2017. A leaked article that had her with a man motorboating on her chest and inviting him and his friends to her apartment in July 2019. Age 38, she was found dead at her home.
Oh.
Her death was not considered suspicious by the police.
Okay.
But clearly that little affair thing,
Yeah.
pissed off Mr. Salvador now.
Or she just drug or alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Anything. Could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything.
He was in prison, right?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't his fault for sure.
Yeah.
But, partying, all that.
Oh, yeah.
In 2017, Bronson recognized a newspaper photographer by the name from a documentary. After providing hair samples for DNA testing, it was found the photographer was actually his son with 98.98% accuracy. Now,
whoa.
Obviously, the son had changed his name and did not want to be associated with him at all. So
that's weird.
Yeah, they never really went any further as to how that went. So I'm assuming that he wanted nothing to do with his dad.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah. So in June 2020, Bronson won a high court battle for the right to have his parole hearing in public. So this was to assure that it was not, that it was fair and not unjust. Okay, so in March 2023, Bronson was to go in front of the parole board. He was denied parole, with the board stating it was not satisfied that he was suitable for release. They also denied the request to be transferred to an open prison. Now, that would probably be the category C or D, where you can kind of have the ability to leave or re-educate yourself.
Yeah, dude, you're fucking violent.
Okay, so some little facts in here. So in 2002, he published a book, Solitary Fitness, detailing individual workouts in minimal spaces. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. Probably short, I would imagine. He had claims of strength and fitness. He can do what is called 172 press-ups, which I think is same as push-ups.
They might be on the walls, though.
Yeah, in 60 seconds. And 94 sit-ups in 30 seconds. He apparently can bench press 300 pounds, even though he had never been in a gym before.
Seriously.
Yes. He has had 11 books published. One being his only self-penned book, Loonyology, in my own words. He has won 11 Kostler Trust Awards, which was the awards he got from earlier, and it was for the poetry and art. Now, Kostler is actually a charity for ex-offenders, secure patients, and detainees in the UK. So they help kind of rehabilitate the people to some degree. In 2016, he auctioned off his artworks to raise money for the treatment of a child with cerebral palsy. Okay. And lastly, they made a loose biography on Bronson. Now, he was played by Tom Hardy, who coincidentally also played the Cray brothers in another film.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a funny little thing. I'm not sure if he knew that. But...
And that's why you wanted to do this story, was because of this movie?
Yeah, I love Tom Hardy so much.
You love Tom Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie, but it's actually a decent movie.
Okay.
Okay.
That's cool.
That's acceptable.
That's fine.
Okay.
You do you, boo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I cry.
Yeah. I'm mad at him today.
Just today.
Just today. He's a dingle nut.
What's a dingle nut?
I don't know. What do you think it is?
I don't know.
Cast in your votes, people. What do you think a dingle nut is?
Yeah, we'll put it on Patreon.
Join our Patreon.
Vote for dingle nuts.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for the story.
Yeah, see, no murders.
No murders.
Light.
Yeah, except he just like beat a bunch of people.
Stab them, strangle them. Yeah, all the violent stuff.
Naked through a prison.
There's nothing illegal about that.
Anyways, I want to join a nudist colony. Let's do it.
You do you, boo.
You gonna join me?
Nope.
Oh no.
I'll just creep around outside.
And that is how our listeners found out about the demise of our relationship.
Nudist colony battle.
So, are you going to hold this for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I also wanted to give a quick little shout out to our listener, Ivan. They reached out to us and told us that Kyle did very well with his pronunciations in his story last week, and it was very, very sweet. So thank you so much.
Yes, I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yes, you made his day.
Yes.
So, and then something that they had said to me, we just want to let our listeners know that you're never a bother to us.
Okay.
And we love talking to all of you.
Of course.
Yeah. So reach out if you need to. We're here. We love talking to you guys. We're small still, so we can have those personal chats.
Yes.
And I think that's really nice. So thanks so much.
Yes.
And thanks again, Ivan. You made all of our day.
Yes.
So I'm going to go into my horrible story.
Uh-oh.
And I have to put a trigger warning, a content warning. I don't even know what kind of warnings I need to put on, but I'm putting them all in. So this story involves necrophilia. I'm so sorry. I'm not happy about it. And as I got more into it, I didn't want to do it anymore, but it was too late.
Yeah, once you start, you kind of got to finish, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into it. My sources were All That's Interesting, the BBC, and Daily Mail.
Nice.
Yeah. So David Fuller was born on September 4th, 1954, and he spent his formative years in Portsmouth on England's south coast.
Ooh.
He was married 3 times.
Oh my goodness.
Had 4 children from his many unions.
Wow.
And he worked as an electrician at numerous hospitals in Kent and Sussex as an adult.
That's a very busy guy.
Right?
Yeah.
I also find it very fascinating that we both did British stories.
That is funny.
Yeah. And we don't even talk about the stories that we're doing, guys.
No, we don't.
We don't. We just make sure that we're not doing the same thing.
Yes, that's about it.
We were going to try and do a Thanksgiving episode because it's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend, but we couldn't find anything. I guess us Canadians are just too nice.
On Thanksgiving, at least.
On Thanksgiving, at least, yes, because we do have some really gnarly serial killers in our country.
Oh, yes, we do.
But
they don't inconvenience us on Thanksgiving.
No, but our neighbors are the Brits, so we're like little families. So we're just gonna
go with that.
Yeah. Fuller appeared to be a typical male, leading a calm life, partaking in innocent interests like cycling, bird watching, and photography. He was well known for being a diligent worker and amicable staff member at the hospitals that he worked at.
So he started off really boring.
Yeah.
And you're telling me he escalated from that?
Yeah.
That's frightening.
Yeah. Yeah. He was boring on the outside.
Clearly.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, that happens.
However, there were early indications that something more sinister was simmering below the surface.
Uh-oh, we in trouble now.
Yeah. Fuller was found guilty of committing a string of creeper burglaries between 1973 and 1977, in which he entered homes through back windows. However, he was never convicted or imprisoned.
Like voyeuristic or something?
I don't know.
That is creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wendy Nell was 25 and she was a single resident of Tunbridge Wells, Kent in 1987. According to the BBC, she recently relocated there following a failed marriage. Nell, aspired to have children in the future and was self-reliant and diligent.
Oh, that's good for that.
Yeah. According to the Evening Standard, she initially met David Fuller while serving as a manager of Super Snaps Photoshop.
That's a nice name.
Where Fuller frequently brought his photos to be developed. Kind of makes you think of that movie with Robin Williams.
Oh, yes. That was an awful movie in many different ways.
He was the employee.
Yeah, he was the creepy employee.
Yeah.
Yeah, scary you.
Later, on June 23rd, 1987, Nell was unfortunately discovered dead in her bed. She was drenched in blood and completely naked. She had been sexually raped, possibly after she had passed away, according to detectives.
Oh, goodness. He started all the way in.
Yeah. Another terrible murder occurred in Kent a short while later. In Tunbridge Wells again, 20-year-old Caroline Pierce had also lived alone. She was employed by a nearby restaurant called Buster Brown's, which Fuller frequented as evidenced by entries in his diary.
Oh, he really likes to visit these people before he gets them, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's how he finds them.
Ah, makes sense.
Yes. On November 24th, 1987, nearby residents claimed to have heard screaming just outside of Pierce's apartment building's front door. She was only wearing a pair of tights, and she was discovered dead in a ditch 3 weeks later, around 40 miles from her home.
That's the distance.
Yes. Her injuries resembled those of Nell, which led authorities to believe the same person was responsible for both homicides.
Oh.
The murders were soon given the moniker bedsit murders because both women had resided in studio apartments known as bedsits in Tunbridge Wells. The offender also got away with it for years, but the DNA he left behind would lead to his capture decades later.
Oh, goodness. Well, DNA again, huh?
Isn't that cool?
That is.
It's amazing how far it has come.
It's also fortunate. I mean, these people might be getting away with it still if it wasn't for that.
Yeah. Thanks to advancements in DNA testing, detectives made a breakthrough in the bedsit murders investigation in 2007. They were able to develop a DNA profile for the culprit after examining DNA from both murder locations, which made it easier to identify potential suspects.
Oh.
One day, someone's going to ring that door and say, "We've caught him," said Wendy Nell's father. And there will be celebration. By God, there will be, especially if he goes down for a very, very long time.
Yeah, a lot of them need closure for things like that. For
right?
Sure.
Like, how horrible.
Oh, I couldn't even imagine.
I couldn't either. Further technological advancements in the years that followed made it simpler for detectives to not only extract DNA from crime scenes, but also match it with familial DNA, which enables them to ascertain whether another person in their database is related to another person whose DNA was extracted from a crime scene.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So it's like if your cousin was in the database and the DNA came, they at least know whose family you're in. That is cool.
Yeah. How fat? I think that's how they caught the Golden Gate.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I think I heard about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was like his daughter or something.
Yeah.
One of David Fuller's siblings was identified by investigators in 2020 as the person whose DNA closely matched that of the bedsit murderer and who resided close to the scene of the killings.
There's a bad reason for serial killers to have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was his siblings, so.
That's true.
Yeah. At last, the police were closing in on David Fuller. According to LBC, Fuller was arrested for the murders of Wendy Nell and Caroline Pierce on December 3rd, 2020, at the peaceful cul-de-sac in Heathfield, East Sussex, where he was residing with his third wife and a teenage son.
That's just frightening.
It's horrifying.
Oh, very.
Fuller's DNA was tested by Kent police, and it matched semen taken from Pierce's tights. More evidence linking him to the murders was discovered when they investigated his Sussex house, including diary entries, Super Snaps photo sleeves, and a photograph of Fuller whose shoes match a print found at the scene of Nell's slaying.
Well, they're really getting the evidence on this guy.
Isn't that amazing? It appeared that their killer would be brought to prison more than 30 years after Wendy Nell and Caroline Pierce were murdered.
Oh, 30 years.
30 years.
30 years isn't that much to get that ahead in DNA testing.
Yeah.
Still good.
Incredible. And that's just two more people whose families get some closure.
Yes.
But as horrible as all of that is,
oh goodness,
it wasn't all that the police found in his home.
Well, that's frightening.
Following Fuller's arrest, the investigators discovered a library of unimaginable sexual depravity consisting of thousands of USB drives and floppy disks, piles of printed photographs, and images and videos of child pornography.
That is terrible.
He has children.
I know. That's why it's more than terrible.
Yeah. Police uncovered an astounding 4 million.
4 million.
Of these photographs.
4 million.
4 million.
Wow. That's insane.
The majority had originated online. Detectives, however, later discovered a series of horrible pictures that Fuller had taken on his own.
It is kind of good that they're capable of doing that. Sort of.
Guys, it gets really, really bad from here. So if you have a weak stomach, you can turn us off. I don't mind.
Yeah, I might leave the room. It's pretty scary.
It's horrible. I'm sorry. I thought I was just going in here thinking it was just like a murder story.
A man who murdered women.
Yeah.
And it just
stopped there, and then it just got so much worse.
But instead it dug into a hole that's way worse.
Yeah.
Great.
Upon looking at these photos, an officer asked, why do they look dead? So, images from the hospitals that Fuller worked at from 1989 until his arrest in 2020 showed him sexually abusing the corpses of numerous women and children.
Oh, like it's so bad. I mean, I guess it's mildly okay that they're dead, but it's so wrong on so many levels.
It's horrible because these families have already gone through something so tragic with losing their loved one.
Yes.
Their family members are in a place that they think is safe from further depravity.
Yeah, well, I would hope the cops wouldn't tell them that stuff. I know, but he wouldn't release names. He shouldn't.
They did.
Oh.
They told, I know of at least one family that they told.
That is so awful.
Horrible. Like, you don't have to. But yeah, so it's just awful, awful, awful.
Yes, very.
The police soon discovered that Fuller, who, like I said previously, was an electrician, had keycard access to the morgues at the hospitals, allowing him to enter on his own after the other hospital workers had left for the day. Fuller could do these activities out of view of security cameras since he was aware of their locations, but he sadly caught them on his own cameras.
And this is why security cameras should never be obvious.
Yeah. Additionally, the identities of his victims are allegedly recorded in a black book that the police also discovered.
Oh.
It seemed like he kept going back to some victims as well. Multiple times.
Oh, goodness.
It didn't take long for this startling evidence to construct a picture of a man who was fixated on abuse, rape, murder, and necrophilia, when combined with the proof that Fuller had perpetrated the atrocities in the bedsit.
Oh, goodness.
He told officers during an interview, "I'm not insane. I may have some sort of residual personality problems, which, I've gone a completely almost Christian life and a deadliest life altogether at the same time with no crossovers. It's just two different personalities."
Admitting to like DID or something?
I have no idea. He's just a man that can put shit in a box, I guess.
I guess.
Compartmentalize.
Oh, yeah, that's what you want to do with that stuff.
Yeah. And it's gross that he says that he's Christian and leads a Christian life while he's doing this stuff on the side.
Yeah, that's one half of his personality. The other half is going to hell.
Blech. At first, he claimed that he had diminished responsibility for the bedsit murders because of his fragile mental state. However, he changed his plea to guilty on the fourth day of his trial as the evidence against him mounted.
Yeah, I'm sure those pictures, were going to make him pay.
Well, this is just in regards to the bedsit murders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fuller was given a life sentence without the chance of parole in December 2021 for the murders of Wendy Nell and Caroline Pierce. So that's wonderful.
Yes.
For the offenses involving the mortuary victims, he received an additional 12 years.
On top of a life sentence.
Yes.
I always find that odd.
I do too. Following the conviction, but I mean, usually a life sentence is like what the typical average lifespan is, right? I find.
Yeah, I thought life sentence was meaning you can get a parole hearing after 25 years, and I think additional years added on to it increases the distance of the time between your parole and your beginning of sentence, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always so confused.
Well, that's the only reason I would see adding years to a life sentence.
Yeah. I always thought that it was kind of like the average lifespan of a person,
I guess. Could be.
So, who knows? Following the conviction, I guess the law knows, but
they know better than we do.
Following the conviction, authorities were able to identify at least 101 mortuary victims, ranging in age from those under the age of 18 all the way up to the ripe old age of 100.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is... Yeah.
This next part is really sad. The mother of one of these victims was a 9-year-old child, and her mother confronted Fuller personally during his sentencing hearing. She said, "You raped my baby." She couldn't say no to the dirty 66-year-old man who was abusing her body. "I feel guilty I left her there. I will not enjoy my life again. This unnatural, sick pain I will never get over."
That is horrid.
Like,
every level.
You've already lost your child, and then you find out
somebody desecrated the corpse. That's, yeah.
In a place that you thought your child was safe.
Yeah, you would never think anything of that. Yeah. In a hospital with security cameras and everything else. Yeah.
The judge had similarly harsh words for David Fuller, who they deemed the monster in the morgue. She said, "You became a vulture, picking your victims from among the dead within the hidden world of hospital mortuaries, which you were free to inhabit simply because you had a swipe card. The depravity of what you did reveals your conscience is seared."
Yeah. Going back to the other point, I've heard it before where they've said, why do they give these guys kind of not cool names, but like menacing names? Wouldn't you want to call a killer like that some kind of a really goofy or fairy-ish name where they're like almost offended?
Yeah.
Like, so you wouldn't want to become that serial killer because you're Fairy Frank the serial killer, like whatever you want to call them. I don't know.
That's great. Can we start calling serial killers fairies?
Well, I think the fairy people would be offended.
That's true.
We'd have to come up with a completely new name for them.
Dingle nuts.
Dingle nuts. There we go.
One of these victims of his mortuary incidents was Jordana Carr, who was a mother. Her son was only 13 years old when his mother died. Not sure how she died, but it's understandable that losing one's mother at such a young age would have a huge mental impact, and it did for Jay. And his family said that his mental health deteriorated throughout the years, but it was getting better into his adult ages.
Yeah, that your puberty and that happening to your mother, and just that would mess you up beyond belief.
But upon learning what David Fuller did to his mother,
oh goodness,
Jay became obsessed with David Fuller, and he eventually took his own life at the age of 20.
Wow, that's just awful. Even in jail, the guy still happens to murder somebody through,
And that's the thing, like he still messed with people.
Yeah.
With what he was doing.
Convicted in prison, and people are still beyond just messed up.
Well, and in the article I was reading about Jay, the family said they didn't want to tell him about what happened to his mom, but the police pushed him.
Really?
Pushed them to tell him. I don't know.
That's terrible. 13-year-old losing your mother, and then, hey, by the way.
Well, he found out when he was 20.
I know, but still, at any point in time, finding out is terrible.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
don't know why you have to tell people.
And 20 is still a fairly young mental state.
That's true. I guess you're not fully mentally developed until at least 25, right?
That's what they say, yes.
Yeah.
And even then, if you're a man, maybe in your 40s.
So sad. So this depraved killer was subsequently sentenced to life in prison, like I said, without the possibility of parole.
That's good.
In addition, the government declared that there would be a public inquiry conducted independently, and NHS England directed all institutions to assess their security.
And that's what happens a lot of the times, right? Something really
bad has to happen.
Yeah. And then, our security was lax. Really?
Yeah. It hasn't been updated since the 60s.
Yeah.
I don't know why, if you're going to have a security system, why your cameras cannot access every inch of a room.
Yeah, I mean, especially based on the timeline this guy had these things, it seems like they should have had good quality enough.
Yeah,
to cover every corner.
He was still doing this stuff in 2020.
Well, I know. And I mean, even in a hospital, I'm not trying to say anything to the people in the morgue, but I mean, you can basically cover that place entirely with cameras.
Yeah.
There's no reason you can't.
Exactly.
Or there shouldn't be anyway.
So, and I mean, just because there are cameras doesn't mean that you have to release that video. I mean, if they're thinking about privacy,
Yeah.
So it's just crazy.
Very crazy.
But that was my really terrible story. I'm really, really sorry.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm so down now.
I'm sorry.
I'll just think of Chucky.
Don't think of Chucky.
Oh, I'm thinking of Charles.
Oh, you're Charles.
Okay, I'll think of Tom Hardy as Charles Bronson.
Why are you thinking about you're saying that he's Chucky the doll?
No, I was just saying Charlie, Chucky, kind of the same difference.
Okay, so now that I've downed us all, I have some jokes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good.
But yeah, so why, Kyle, did the vampire need mouthwash?
I don't know.
Because he had bat breath.
Oh, good.
Oh, God.
Bad breath.
Bat breath.
That's a good one.
Because he's a bat. What kind of monster loves to disco?
Disco? That's a good one. I'm not sure.
The boogeyman.
Oh, that makes sense.
What do you get when you put a spider on an ear of corn?
I don't know.
A cobweb. Why didn't the scarecrow eat dinner?
It was stuffed.
Yeah.
Oh, I got one.
Good job.
Finally.
Are any Halloween monsters good at math?
Any Halloween monsters good at math? I don't know.
No, unless you count Dracula. Okay, I have one more.
No.
What do ghosts wear when their eyesight gets blurry?
What do ghosts wear? Oh, boofocals?
Spookticles.
Spookticles.
You were so close.
I had another answer, that's all.
Well, if you want more of us, lovely ladies.
And the guy.
Yeah, if you want more of this lovey-dovey spouse crap, You can join us on our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube when Ashley's back, our TikTok when Ashley's back, because I am like incompetent with videos. And you can also find us on our Patreon. Super fun over there. So come on, join us. And if you want to rate and review us, you can do so on Apple Podcast and Spotify.
Ooh, sounds like fun.
So thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you 2 new stories next week.
Yes, and have a happy Thanksgiving to the Canadian listeners out there.
Happy Thanksgiving. We love you. Bye.
Bye.